Saya itu sudah korban sabuk kadoran dengan omong, sapu mama sudah hutan meninggal, sudah korban.
After Greenland, New Guinea is the second largest island in the world. The western half of the island is called West Papua by the inhabitants. It came 1963 into the territory of Indonesia and was officially annexed with the controversial referendum Act of Free Choice in 1969. Since then, West Papua has been controlled by the Indonesian military forces and exploited by multinational corporations. This annexation has always been perceived by the Papuans as a form of neo-colonialism. The will to be independent has, up to now, cost the lives of more than 100,000 West Papuans. In the border areas in neighbouring Papua New Guinea live nearly 10,000 refugees from West Papua. These refugees are not officially recognised by the Papua New Guinea government. They survive in a legal vacuum. The first big waves of fleeing Papuans came in the late 70s and early 80s, after the Indonesian army started mass clearance operations, with tens of thousands of dead civilians.
Tentang jumlah kita banyak yang tinggal di Boda ini, sebanyak 6.000 lebih dengan kampung, sekitar 26. Yang kami tinggal sejak pengunduran sudah tahun 1984 secara resmi datang ke sini. Kita banyak menghadapi banyak kesulitan, terutama tentang pendidikan, kesehatan, ekonomi, sosial, di mana kami dari tahun 1987 sampai sekarang tahun 2007 yang masih tidak ada siapapun lihat kami. Hanya tinggal diam.
Everybody who lives here has lost members of his family in this secret genocide. Until today, about 15% of the native Papua population has been cruelly wiped out by the Indonesian military regime. Just raising the West Papua independence flag results in up to 15 years in jail. Since 2003, no foreign journalists or human rights organizations have been allowed to enter West Papua.
Ya, saya sebagai bangsa perempuan mewakili mama-mama di West Papua rasa bosan dan capek. Kenapa Tuhan ciptakan kami perempuan yang mengandung tiap hari melahirkan anak itu hanya untuk dibunuh oleh kolonialisme Indonesia? Kami tidak mau. Lebih baik Tuhan menutup kandungan kami supaya kami tidak beranak. Percuma saja bikin anak capek-capek, memelihara capek-capek, tapi untuk dibunuh saja. Seperti binatang. Kami melihat mereka sudah beranak capek-capek, sudah besar, ya bunuh saja, makan saja, tidak ada artinya. Di mata Indonesia, kami rakyat Papua Barat itu seperti binatang.
In another refugee camp, which was set up just 1 year ago, live students from the Jayapura-based Chandrawasana University. It is a top-secret camp, and the access is very difficult. Those students who are hiding in the jungle are still hunted by the Indonesian military forces, since they represent the new intellectual generation of independence fighters. In a clash between students demonstrating for independence and the Indonesian security forces in Jayapura, West Papua in March 2006, several members of the military were stoned to death, and hundreds of students were injured, arrested, tortured and jailed. Many other students fled across the border.
Melanjutkan apa yang ada di dalam pemikiran kami bahwa kami punya tanah yang bebas dari penyiksaan, penderitaan, pemerkosaan yang dilakukan oleh TNI Polri, oleh pemerintah Indonesia. Itu kami harus menantang mereka. Sebab kekejaman dari pemerintah Indonesia itu sangat buruk. Karena mereka memperkosa perempuan, harta benda dirampas. Perempuan punya susu apa segala macam itu dipotong. Kami tidak setuju. Kami punya tanah dirampas, lingkungan kami dirusak oleh PT Freeport.
In 1967, Freeport Mining from the United States established the world's biggest copper and gold mine in the Grasberg Mountains. Independent journalists do not get access to the area. This mining concession is right in the core area of the ancestral homeland of the Amongme tribe. Freeport is using the Indonesian military to brutally keep away all native Papuans. For this service, Freeport pays millions of US dollars per year in protection money to the military. The military desperately needs such payments from multinationals and other natural resource exploiters because it only receives around 1/3 of its running costs from the state. The rest of the money has to be obtained by the various units by illegal and criminal activities. What is left for the West Papuans? They are forced to witness the rapid destruction of their homeland because, for example, Freeport pumps 238,000 tons of toxic waste into the river system each day. Huge areas of this region are already biologically dead, and thus the livelihood of the West Papuans is destroyed. This situation activated the resistance of the native Papuans, leading to mass demonstrations for their independence.
Mrs. Apina more that because he know the bullets by Indonesian army who want to take down our flag. So that Mr. Tabuni say that we want to get independent, full independent.
Like before in many European colonies, any striving for independence by the Papuans is brutally suppressed by the Indonesians. Human rights are disregarded, with torture and murder commonplace. The victims of the massacres among the civilians, like here on the seemingly endless lists, are usually labelled as terrorists.
Jakarta is more interested in the geopolitical natural resources in Papua while ignoring or killing West Papuans. For them is a true reason to unify Indonesia. How come they've been killing West Papuans for so many years and they still do that?
Indonesia has the world's fastest rate of deforestation, losing an area the size of Belgium each year. West Papua is almost entirely covered by vast stretches of virgin rainforest, with a unique diversity of fauna and flora. The timber reserves which are available for logging amount to an area the size of Western Germany. The native Papuans are usually evicted from their ancestral homelands because of these logging activities, both illegal and legal. According to the Indonesian constitution, all profits of all resources belong to the central government, feeding the fear of the politicians in Jakarta, the fear of Indonesia breaking up, and the consequences for them and for their grip on the rest of the country. Indonesia hopes to attract billions of dollars in investment by developing plantations of oil palms, cassava and sugarcane, the raw material for biofuels. In January 2007, China National Offshore Oil Corporation and its Indonesian partner PT Sinar Mas Agro announced they had agreed with Jakarta to invest $5 billion to develop palm oil plantations in Papua. The fear that thousands of tribal people will again lose their living and hunting grounds and be removed from their homeland is not officially recognized.
Sehingga itu berlangsung terus terjadi perlawanan bangsa Papua Barat. Mulai dari orang tua kami pada tahun 77 bergejolak berlangsung terus 84 dan pada saat tahun 98, 2000 dan pada saat sekarang ini kami tetap terus berjuang hingga menuju pada tujuan kami yaitu kemerdekaan Papua Barat. Jadi tujuan daripada perjuangan kami dan kesengsaran kami yang kami hadapi pada saat ini merupakan akibat dari distorsi sejarah, dari kepentingan ekonomi yang menyebabkan kerusakan dan hilangnya harta benda, nyawa, kekayaan kami dirampok. Ini semua akibat dari hal-hal itu.
Under pressure from the United States and Indonesia, the Netherlands, former colonial masters of West Papua, signed the New York Agreement in 1962 to hand over West Papua to Indonesia in 1963. The agreement recommended that by 1969 a free vote by the Papuans, known as the Active Free Choice, should take place. When the Indonesians entered West Papua, they very clearly demonstrated their power and intention by burning all symbols of independence, flags and schoolbooks, and starting their neo-colonialism. In 2004, the National Security Archive posted declassified documents on US policy during this period. It shows in detail the US support for Indonesia's takeover of West Papua in 1969, despite overwhelming Papuan opposition. The US National Security Advisor at that time was Henry Kissinger. The concessions for the mammoth US Freeport mine were already signed in 1967, 2 years before. It was therefore strongly in US interest that the referendum would lead to a vote pro-Indonesia. Henry Kissinger later became a board member of Freeport. The referendum in 1969 was a fake. The result of the vote was guaranteed by the military. One of the 1,026 from Indonesia selected representatives, who represented at that time 800,000 Papuans, tells how this vote was conducted at that time.
Tupu men nom dega imana andanya pisol nom de non kana greg ta men nabidem dega ka nen an kiri ko gino ta no ko kikino kare kuno Indonesia lo wa ni bonu tupu no kario ini no bela bu na kata keringa bu abige ko ni no yo kario Indonesia ba bu kario to ka nabidem do na kelili na ka oh megali keringa re ko ta pu jam enam ko gra ko li jam 12 ko li o men ne mang gra
semangat revolusi organisasi Papua Merdeka sebagai jantung penentu kemerdekaan Papua Barat bagi pembebasan tanah Papua dari kolonialisme Negara Kesatuan Republik Indonesia.
Unggal lah, ni narat bewan oboran berwat dari nangka, selaparan wat dari nangka nyirim no jema Papua ni uni unggal lah di ni nak ui jema Papua ni uni mentah anak komde, elegema sekolah kadek ongkama ni nomorek, anenda alumina wenta antiaregi, mana berlantan biro iki nangkonen iri luk nagar iri luk biro iki. An minta merdeka penuh.
Mana hukum yang sebenarnya mana? Karena hak asasi manusia, hukum undang-undang internasional umum untuk hak asasi manusia internasional itu, tetapi masa Papua Barat rakyat banyak korban dari tahun ke tahun sekarang 45 tahun. Media yang sudah diumumkan ini depan internasional umum disebarluaskan dengan kamera ini sampai taruh terbuka di internasional dunia di PBB sampai seluruh dunia gereja.